Welcome and thank you for joining us. I am Jessica Taylor. I'm a physical scientist here at NASA Langley Research Center. We're in Hampton, Virginia. And I am so excited to celebrate World Meteorological Day. And I have two great guests that are going to be speaking with us today. We have Marile Colon Robles. She is here with me in the studio in Hampton, Virginia, and she is the lead for Globe Clouds. And in a little bit, she's going to tell us about how you can practice your meteorological skills of making cloud observations, observing the sky, and sending that data to NASA through a free app called Globe Observer. And we also are very delighted to have joining us live from Geneva, Switzerland, the World Meteorological Organization. And we will be speaking with the Secretary General of what we call the WMO, in just a few moments. Dr. Petteri Tallis is joining us. So if you have any questions for either Marile or Petteri, please go ahead and feel free to put them in the comments and we'll get to them in just a little bit. So why don't we hop right on in to celebrating World Meteorological Day, and let's go live to Switzerland. Petteri, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for the invitation, and we are about 200 people here in Geneva, and WMO has organized very beautiful sunshine for this event. I don't know how successful you have been in organizing nice weather for
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy to be joining you. And go ahead and why don't you tell us and all of our Facebook audience, what is the World Meteorological Organization and what's so exciting about this today, World Met Day as we call it?
So World Meteorological Organization is the UN specialized agency on weather, climate and water. So we are very much dealing with the global observing systems from ground-based observations, balloon-borne observations, satellite observations, which is very much hardcore of NASA. And then we are very much dealing with the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, which are the safety authorities in their country and providing a wide range of services for various customers and also for the general public. And then we are also dealing with climate and also climate research and climate services. And then our third component is related to water and the management of global water resources and related services. That's also one of our duties. And we have 191 members, and almost all of the United Nations members, they are our members, and large part of our work is done by our member countries.
What a huge organization, and its ability to provide such valuable information to society. I understand that this year's theme for World Meteorological Day is weather ready and climate smart. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so this weather ready means that we have started seeing growing amount of disasters and also the economic losses related to disasters. They have almost tripled since the 80s, and we have to provide better early warning services for general public and various users of such information to be able to mitigate the risks and also to save lives.
To save lives.
And climate is we have seen climate change, and because of that we have started seeing growing amount of disasters, and one has to adapt also to the changed climate. And for example, the changes in the Arctic, they have had impacts on lower latitudes and some
yes,
of the
absolutely.
unusually cold weather patterns that you have faced also in USA. They have been related to changes in the Arctic, or Arctic climate. And recently we have faced that also in European countries.
Well, that's really interesting to hear, you know, the connection between the WMO and engaging these services across all of the countries and being able to better prepare everyone for weather and also for climate. If you're just joining us, we are here at NASA Langley Research Center. We're here in the studio here in Hampton, Virginia, and we are also connecting live with the World Meteorological Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. And we're just getting ready to talk a little more with Marile. So I understand you're the lead for Globe Clouds, and we talked a little bit about how maybe our audience can practice meteorological observations by making cloud observations through Globe Observer. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. So Globe Observer is an app that's free and available for everybody. You can use an Android device or an Apple device. The Globe Observer app is part of the GLOBE program, the bigger GLOBE program. GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment. It's a program, international program. It's been around for 20 years, inviting people, students, teachers, everybody around the world to make their observations about the environment. Now, with the Globe Observer app, you can download it for free, and it steps you little by little on how to make your observations. Practice makes perfect.
Yes.
But it always guides you. The app guides you on how to make those cloud observations. Here, the team at NASA Langley, we receive those information, and then we match your observations with satellite data that was right overhead at more or less the same time.
So a user of the app is making a cloud observation, and then if they were taking it at the same time that a satellite passed overhead, they get information about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we send you an email just for you with your observations compared to all the different satellites that saw the clouds that were right overhead where you were at. You can match from 1 to maybe even up to 4 satellites. And this is really important for us and researchers around the world because not everything that's white is a cloud, right? From the perspective of the satellite.
Oh, from space.
From space down. So for you, it's really easy to see these thin clouds, particularly when there's snow on the ground. For satellites, that's something tricky sometimes. So that's just one of the benefits of having you make your observations and send them to NASA.
So I've seen a little bit online and in different news sites about this Globe Cloud Challenge. It's getting a lot of press. Tell us about that.
Yes, so Globe Clouds has released the Spring Cloud Observations Data Challenge. It just started. It's not too late. It started on March 15th, and it'll run until April 15th. What we're asking is anyone from around the world, download the Globe Observer app. You can go to observer.globe.gov and download the app and make your observations. Make 10 observations per day, and then the top observers will get a congratulatory video from a NASA scientist, and it'll be posted on the Globe site.
That's pretty amazing. So anyone who is probably a Globe country can download this app, and we have it up on the screen. Observer.globe.gov is a website that you can go to learn how to download the app, as well as learn a little bit more about what Marile was talking about, this Globe Cloud Challenge. Now, again, if you're just joining us, we are live here at NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, and we are also connected with Switzerland because we are celebrating World Meteorological Day with the World Meteorological Organization. So let's go back to Switzerland. And Petteri, you know, Marile was talking to us about this idea of engaging citizen scientists in making these observations. Can you tell us a little more about why is it important to engage communities and have community involvement in relation to meteorology?
So we have classically had the stations where we make observations, but nowadays there's a great opportunity to get some complementary data from individual human beings, and the cloud observations they have always been a challenge. From satellites you can see the things from the space, and you can get some information, various wavelengths, and you can, for example, see what is the water content of the clouds. But if you want to know more about clouds, it's good to get some complementary data from the Earth, and we have a network of weather stations where those observations are made. But the network is in most countries fairly sparse, and and this complementary data from by individual observers and human beings.
Yeah, so they can
that's
kind of
highly-
fill in those gaps, right?
So that's very good, and nowadays we are talking about big data, and again, and the backbone is are these high quality stations run by the National Met Services, but besides that, the complementary data from done by carried out by individual stations and human beings and organizations, that's highly useful, and we have been able to show that once you add this complementary data, you also can improve the quality of the forecasts.
Yeah, and humans have been making observations of clouds forever, right? And making observations of the sky. Well, I want to go to some questions from our audience members. Again, if you're just joining us, we are celebrating World Meteorological Day with the World Meteorological Organization, and they're joining us live from Geneva, Switzerland. And of course, we're celebrating here at NASA, and we are at the studio at NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. So one of the questions, we were talking about the theme of being weather ready and climate smart. So Marile, we have a lot of questions about what's the difference between weather and climate.
And that's a really good question, because the main difference is time, is this variable at time. When you look at what's happening outside for a day or a few days, that's what we call weather. But once you start looking for a month, different months, a year, multiple years, now you're starting to see a pattern, and that's what we call climate. And this is where the saying is that climate is what you expect, weather is what you get.
I've used that before.
Yeah. So what you expect right now, it's springtime here in the Northern Hemisphere. So we are expecting temperatures to be a little bit warmer, but not yet super warm, right? Maybe some showers here and there, right, for our Mayflowers to start growing. And what did we get today? We got a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I imagine all these countries have these little sayings, right, about April showers bring Mayflowers, those sorts of things, and that's more about the climate. And then weather is those day-to-day variations.
That's right.
Another question, let's go back to Switzerland. Pateri, one of the questions, we're celebrating World Meteorological Day. So a question here is, why did you become a meteorologist? Why did you join this field of meteorology in general?
That's a good question. In my family, we have lots of medical doctors, and it was good to do something else than the other family. And actually, when I started my meteorology studies, I realized that this is highly fascinating topic. It's lots of new science advances in science, and also the international nature of this science. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And it has also this socioeconomic connections. So
the possibility of benefiting, right? Benefiting society.
And I have been, as a scientist, I have been dealing with acidification, ozone depletion, and more recently climate change, and they all have the socioeconomic connections, and that makes it even more interesting than just science, which doesn't have these kind of connections.
So I am also a meteorologist, and I have to give a shout out to Florida State University. That's where I got my degree, and congratulating the men's basketball team with the win late last night. So congratulations, Florida State. Where did you go to school?
I went to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So go Illini. Very interesting, because I'm originally from Puerto Rico. So I would just wear clothes and just walk outside without having to worry if it's going to be cold, snowy, anything. So going from Puerto Rico to Illinois, I learned the difference between weather and climate. But very proud, very good program, and excited that I can use my background now to reach out to multiple communities and get them involved in going outside and making their observations.
That's nice to hear this theme of, your job and this career in atmospheric sciences, meteorology, about how, one of the reasons we all went into it is that ultimately we would help others too, right? It's possibility of science, of learning something new that no one's ever discovered before, but also that science being able to lead to assisting, right? So Pateri, we have a question here too about, you mentioned a little bit about NASA's observation system, but can you tell us a little more about how your community in the WMO utilizes NASA resources or data?
Yeah, so you have been building satellite programs that are most important both for the weather forecast business and also for the atmospheric and climate science, and there have been quite nice improvement of the weather forecast skills during the past 20 years, and there are three factors behind that. One is that we have bigger supercomputers nowadays. The second one is that there have been advances in scientific skills, and the third one is that we have got access to modern satellite information that, for example, NASA and NOAA from USA are providing. So satellite measurements have highly contributed to the accuracy of forecasts, and nowadays we can forecast things that we were able to forecast for 2 days in 20 years ago. Now we can have the same
Being able to extend that
forecast for 1 week. And the second issue is related to science, and for example, when we are monitoring the sea level rise or changes in the Arctic snow and ice cover, or what's happening with the glaciers, satellites are most important tools for that. And NASA is famous also for the ozone research with NASA instruments. We were able to monitor what's happening with the ozone depletion at the high latitudes, and luckily now we can see the recovery of the ozone layer thanks to Montreal Protocol. So you have also contributed to this kind of success story.
Well, it makes us here at NASA happy to hear about the benefits, of all of the data that NASA produces and distributes freely around the world. Again, if you're just joining us, we are celebrating World Meteorological Day at NASA and at the World Meteorological Organization. And we see a few comments in the box about those of you who already have the Globe Observer app. That's awesome. If you are interested in getting the Globe Observer app, you can search for it in your app store. It's free for Android and Apple devices. It's called Globe Observer, or you can go to observer.globe.gov and learn a little more about the app and also about its connections with this larger Globe program. So there's a few connections here, talking about the WMO, a world organization, right? All of these communities, and the Globe program is that as well, right? A bunch of communities around the world.
Yes, that's right. It's an international community where people have gathered from different countries and said, we want to get the community involved to go outside and make different measurements, environmental measurements. So they do cloud observations, but not just that. They also do soils, they do plants, they do rivers, they monitor birds. It's a barrage of data that people are collecting day by day, and students and teachers particularly.
Yeah. So this idea of Earth systems, but Terry was talking about, one of the major advances now is being able to understand, because of satellites, how what happens in the Arctic has an impact around the world. And so for students to be able to study soils and how is that related to precipitation is pretty awesome. We do have another question I'm going to give to you, Marile, which is, what can some clouds tell us about the weather? Are there particular clouds that someone might look outside and say, oh, okay, something's going to happen?
Yeah. There is a complete correlation between the weather and the cloud types that you see. Because of the storms, I like to say that cirrus clouds, they're made by storm clouds or cumulonimbus clouds. They hit the troposphere and then they spread apart, or they hit the tropopause and then they spread, and that's how they form. So if you are in the mid-latitudes and you start seeing some cirrus clouds, there might be some weather on its way, maybe 24 to 48 hours. Now, if you see some altocumulus, these that look puffy, some people call it like sheep. They look like sheep all around.
Oh.
Yeah. It says that you're going to have a great day. The weather has just passed, so you're going to have a great day right there.
Pateri, let's go to you for one of these questions too. One of the questions here is, how do clouds impact temperature?
So we have various types of clouds, and you just mentioned the cirrus clouds. They are not having very big impact on temperature. But then once we have fairly thick clouds like cumulonimbus clouds, they are really having a big impact on the radiation that reaches the Earth's surface, and usually you have much cooler weather because of that. It depends on the thickness of the clouds, and then we have also specific clouds related to hurricanes or typhoons, and they are one of the most dramatic ones. And we talked about ozone depletion as well. There are so-called polar stratospheric clouds, which are very beautiful, but they are the ones on which surfaces we can see the ozone depletion taking place. So there are various types of those, and in summertime at the high latitudes you can see also so-called noctilucent clouds, which are about at 70 kilometers altitude, and they have some iron compounds embedded in them.
We've seen so many things from.
They are also very beautiful if you have a chance to see them.
Yeah, what I was going to mention was that we've seen some cloud art come in. One of the things that I think you were saying your globe clouds observers enjoy doing is making the photos, right? Because clouds themselves are beautiful, not only the scientific value, but they're really beautiful. Can you tell us a little about the pictures that are taken with Globe Observer?
Yes, so the Globe Observer app makes steps you how to make the cloud observations, and then at the end it gives you the option to submit your own cloud observations. And we highly encourage you to make those pictures, to submit those pictures, because it gives us, the researchers, an idea of what's happening, what happened in that scene, especially if we see a discrepancy between your observations and the satellite data. It might not just be you. It could be that the satellite had some problem detecting the cloud observations. So your observations and your pictures that you submitted, the researchers can look through and really see what's happening. Particularly researchers love pictures near the poles. Right now there's some Arctic and Antarctic cruises going on, and we love to see those pictures because satellites detect like if there were a fog right on the ground. So then your pictures will tell us there is a fog, or it's something else happening with the instruments on board the satellites.
Yeah, so not only is it beautiful to observe the clouds, but scientific value there. I think many of us have been outside on a really hot, sunny day, and we did have that big cumulus clouds that Pateri was talking about roll overhead and immediately shade us. Now, tell us, who is this data then made available to? When someone makes an observation, who can access the data? Can the WMO access it? Who does that?
Anybody around the world can access the data. If you go to the website, observer.globe.gov, you'll see data, a tab that's called data, and it'll take you to a visualization portion on the Globe site, and you can see all the data collected for today. And then you can look at different days, you can look at different observations. We were talking about how you can look at clouds, but you can look at soil, you can look at rain, different things.
So again, we're talking about the Globe Observer app at observer.globe.gov. I can't think of a better way to celebrate World Meteorological Day than talking about how you practice meteorology observations by making pictures and observing clouds and making that data available to everyone, including the World Meteorological Organization. And we have to say thank you very much to the World Meteorological Organization. Dr. Pateri Talas, thank you for joining us today. And oh, go ahead.
So it was a great pleasure to talk to you and especially the viewers of this program, and I hope that you will all celebrate this very important day together with us. So it was a pleasure to spend the past 25 minutes with you.
Thank you so much. This is a true honor for us, being in atmospheric sciences to be able to celebrate this. So thank you. And again, the website to get the app.
It's observer.globe.com.
Yep. And we hope you consider downloading this free app and joining us in our love for meteorology and clouds by making these observations and being curious about the world around you. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Thank you. Bye-bye.